Hey everyone, it's Brianna here with your Thursday tip. Not live today because I'm at home and I know the service is bad, but again, another day. Hopefully, you'll catch me live. Always feel free to send me emails or messages or comments or whatever with your questions because I'd really love to be able to answer some of your questions. On these videos on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Today, the topic is toxic relationships. This has come up in a lot of conversations lately, and I see the topic everywhere. Toxic relationships, narcissism, this concept that we should just get all of these toxic relationships out of our lives and not deal with people who bring us pain. And in theory, I think that can be really positive and helpful. Obviously, we need to take care of ourselves, and if somebody is, abusing our relationship or causing us pain, I think it can be a really powerful thing to finally stand up and say, like, no, I'm not accepting this in my life anymore. This relationship isn't working for me. It can be very powerful. But if you've tried getting rid of toxic relationships from your life, you probably know it's not really that easy. Just saying, I'm going to get rid of this entirely, this relationship. If it's been a long-standing relationship, it's not always quite that easy. And a lot of times when we do just cut ties with a person, we end up recreating more relationships in our lives that are exactly the same, that create the same challenges for us. So I would like to tease this concept out a little bit today and give you some guidance around how to actually navigate this. What relationships are toxic and aren't toxic? Which relationships are worth keeping or not worth keeping? And how do you go about figuring this out for yourself? How do you go about, creating a life that has only really healthy, fulfilling relationships? How do you go about actually cutting ties in a relationship that's toxic? I would like to give you a little guidance for that here. So again, if any questions come up throughout the course of this video, please post them in the comments. I will get to you later. And now let's just dive in. So when it comes to a toxic relationship, or really any kind of behavior that we engage in as humans, I'd like you to consider that we tend to create situations and relationships that we've experienced something similar before, that we are looking to kind of master. And we might not do this consciously. That might not be why we create that relationship, but you notice this. You're attracted to similar types of people over time. And I would bet some money on the fact that you probably have a type of person like this that continues coming into your life, and they're kind of toxic for you, yeah? And it doesn't matter if you cut ties with that person. Another one will come in and it'll be exactly the same again. Relationship patterns are like this a lot, romantic relationships, but friendships can actually be like this too. Women can have some really complicated relationships with each other. I know I have in the past. A lot of women feel like they have a hard time making good female friends. So it really applies to any kind of relationship. So first thing is kind of accepting this fact that, we can't control what other people bring to the table in our relationships in our lives. We can only control what we bring to the table and what we allow in our lives. And we can become aware about what we are allowing in our lives without really having any commitment of whether or not, like, I'm not asking you to commit today, like, I'm going to cut all of these relationships out of my life. No. I think a really good first step is noticing these patterns as they exist when it comes to these toxic or even narcissistic types of people that you're having in your life. Recognize, what is this recreating for you? Is it is it something that it's giving you, this relationship? Maybe it's kind of a scapegoat in your life. Like, you're able to blame a lot of stuff that goes wrong on this relationship that you have. Maybe there's a part of you, actually, even if it's not something that you've actually acknowledged a lot, maybe there's a part of you that is a lot like that person. And usually the part of you that is like that person, it's the part that you hate the most about that toxic person. There's probably a part of you that is like that, that wants to be acknowledged and accepted. Um, it's also possible that there's just some kind of wound going on. Like, maybe you craved the acceptance of your peers and you wanted acceptance from your parents, and it was really hard for you to get it. So now, you're creating relationships that leave you feeling less than. They make you feel like you're not good enough, or you're getting, maybe overcompensating. Maybe you're getting, maybe they're like really kind of giving you a lot of attention for negative things that's going on. I mean, there are all kinds of ways that relationships can be toxic. But anyway, the point here is to really recognize what that pattern is for you and kind of ask some questions about, what is this repeating for me? Like, what is the thread here? And this can honestly be a lot easier if you have support. I would love to support you with it if you need some extra support, so just keep that in mind. And at some point, once you've figured these things out, once you start to address these things, I want you to always know that you have everything that you need to heal whatever needs healing, to fix whatever needs fixing. I really hate that word, because like, we don't really need to be fixed. I think that we really want to be understood, and understanding is way more valuable than fixing, every day. But relationships, they can really naturally start to sort themselves out when you address your own needs this way. So let's say for instance, there's a part of you, like a part of you that when you were a kid, you didn't really get all of the attention and the love and respect that you wanted. And maybe you were really like trying hard to do all of the right things, and maybe it's created a very motivated side of you. I've talked to a lot of people like this. I tend to work really well with clients like this, because I am the same exact way. You kind of were always trying to reach this perfectionism, this perfect thing that you thought would get you acceptance and love, and you kept striving for it and you never quite could get it. Sometimes maybe you're recreating that in your relationship. You're trying to be perfect for everyone, and you never feel quite appreciated for it. You never feel quite loved for it. This is super common, and this is really, really, really common. What you can do in that situation is really take a second to sit back, take some deep breaths, connect with the part of yourself that didn't get the love and respect and appreciation when you were little, that needed it, that deserved it. And then as your adult self, you can give that to the different part of yourself, the part of you that really needed it and that still needs it. And I think you'll find that as you practice doing things like this, the relationships that you see as toxic will naturally resolve themselves, because a couple of different things can happen here. If there's a relationship that we're so focused on getting what we need from that person, we want to get their love, we want to get their appreciation, their respect, their affection, whatever, and we're kind of chasing it. Once we give it that to ourselves and we stop needing to chase it from someone else, the relationship can really naturally have space to breathe and become a little bit less toxic for everybody involved, for everybody involved. Or on the flip side of that, maybe once you've loved yourself in that way, you realize, like, hey, this person treats me like shit. And I don't want them in my life anymore. And it feels easy to let go. Um, that's really common. That's the way that these things shake out. When you take responsibility for, or really like understanding why these patterns are being created and what it is that you're trying to get from this relationship in the first place, it becomes a lot easier to either transform the toxic relationship into something that's positive for you, or to get rid of it entirely. Because once you've figured it out, once you've healed that wound, you don't need the toxic relationship anymore, and you can break the pattern. And I think that, that's really the biggest takeaway here is figure out what your pattern is. What is it? What part of you is bringing these toxic people into your life? What is it that you're recreating? What is it that you're trying to get from them? What need are you trying to get met? What need isn't being met, and how painful is that for you, and why is it painful for you? Really go into that and figure it out, and then notice how it transforms when you meet that need for yourself without relying on someone else to do it, because we can't ever control somebody into giving us what we need. We just can't do it. And hopefully, when we're lucky, we find people to come into our lives that want to meet our needs. They want to bring positive qualities into our lives. But sometimes, my biggest point here is that sometimes we take a relationship and we call it toxic because our needs aren't getting met necessarily, and it feels toxic to us. It feels really painful, but it doesn't necessarily mean that that person is toxic. It means your relationship is toxic. The interaction between you is toxic. So I'm encouraging you in this video to take responsibility only for your part. Let other people deal with their part. And notice how once you deal with your part and give yourself exactly what you need all the time, like really make that your priority to give yourself whatever love, attention, understanding, appreciation, that stuff that you need, because once you're filled up that way, the relationship can naturally transform into something positive, or it can naturally go to the wayside and become kind of easy to cut that toxic relationship out of your life and stop the pattern altogether. So I hope that this was useful for you guys. Again, if any questions come up, please put them in the comments section. Let me know. And yeah, keep checking back for these Tuesday and Thursday tips. Can't wait to see you again next week, and I hope that you enjoy your weekend, everyone. Bye.